flashing, rubbers burning, hearts are clashing, tires screaming that southern heat, 200 strong on the NASCAR beat. Lap 5 wreck on turn 4, smoke so thick can't see the door, but somehow I slip right through like a ghost in red, white, and blue. 'Cause I thread the needle, dodge the flame, every pile up calling my name. Wrecks behind me, wrecks ahead, but I ain't wrecked, I ain't dead. Sliding sideways, holding tight, praying hard through every fight. Got no wins, but I got pride, made it through the other side. Yellow flags like warning signs, but I ain't falling for their lines. Got nerves of steel, a shaky hand. This ain't a game, it's fight or land. Saw that 18 catch the wall, 21 spun, took out them all. But somehow I found the lane, like Moses through that fire and rain. Yeah, I thread the needle, dodge the flame, every pile up calling my name. Wrecks behind me, wrecks ahead, but I ain't wrecked, I ain't dead. Sliding sideways, holding tight, praying hard through every fight. Got no wins, but I got pride, made it through the other side. No checkered flag, no champagne rain, but I kept it clean through the carnage and pain. One more lap, one more breath, a dance with danger, a race with death. Still I thread the needle, feel the flame, every turn's a twist of fate's game. Wrecks behind me, wrecks ahead, but I ain't wrecked, I ain't dead. Sliding sideways, holding tight, out of chaos into light, no first place, but man, I ride with fire still burning inside. Yeah, I thread the needle in this wild racing ride. Strapped in tight, green lights flashing, rubbers burning, hearts are clashing, tires screaming that southern heat, 200 strong on the NASCAR beat. Lap 5 wreck on turn 4, smoke so thick can't see the door, but somehow I slip right through like a ghost in red, white, and blue. 'Cause I thread the needle, dodge the flame, every pile up calling my name. Wrecks behind me, wrecks ahead, but I ain't wrecked, I ain't dead. Sliding sideways, holding tight, praying hard through every fight. Got no wins, but I got pride, made it through the other side. Yellow flags like warning signs, but I ain't falling for their lines. Got nerves of steel, a shaky hand. This ain't a game, it's fight or land. Saw that 18 catch the wall, 21 spun, took out them all. But somehow I found the lane, like Moses through that fire and rain. Yeah, I thread the needle, dodge the flame, every pile up calling my name. Wrecks behind me, wrecks ahead.
Well, I hope you are ready for one heck of a show tonight, folks. Welcome in we are going to bring you some more next-gen action here at Racers Elite. As always, John Ross in the booth with my good friend Russ. Russ, we got a lot to get to tonight, but how are you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing pretty good. Pretty excited to be here at Indy. You know, this is one of them races that every one of these drivers wants to win and want to be able to kiss the bricks at the end of it. So, see how this plays out tonight, buddy.
Yeah, it really is crazy because when you think about it, such a hard track to pass on, and we'll talk about that later on as we go through this race. And especially in these next gens, a really hard track to pass. You're going to have some extreme tire wear. You're going to have a lot of fuel saving strategy as they're going to run right up against the fuel line. We'll talk about that a little bit later too. But first, we've got to get some of these things out of the way because we're going to talk about your points here. Now, we are not that far into this. We are going to hit just round 3 tonight, but Truth Hoke is your leader already with a win on the season. That means he's going to automatically advance into that postseason. James McCrae, they're in second. Dennis Kane is in third. Andrew Teff with a win, so he automatically advances. And Kirby Wainscott is going to round out your top 5. You can see all of those other drivers, they're in the top 27. As it looks like, Russ, we're going to bring about 18 drivers here to the green flag.
Yeah, we have quite a few guys here tonight, and like I said, right now it looks like James McCrae is currently sitting on the pole. I mean, he's been one of them guys. He came back this year. Glad to have him back. Glad to see him back, and you know, he's kind of been putting his name on the board here these first couple of weeks.
Yeah, and then if we go over here to the schedule, so we've got Indy tonight. As you can see, we are going to go road course racing at Sonoma. One of the favorite things for me to call as a broadcaster, Russ, so I'm going to have fun there. We got New Hampshire, the Super Speedway there at Nashville, Dover, Darlington, and then we are going to go to Chase Racing, Daytona, Kentucky, Auto Club, and Pocono. So really a mixed bag there in the championship race. You go see a lot of draft tracks there, Daytona, Auto Club, and Pocono, really even Kentucky early on in those runs. So those drivers that are mile and a half to Super Speedway drivers really going to benefit from this later on in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and you know, we all know how things can go at Daytona. I mean, that's pretty much anybody's race. But you know, yeah, we've got quite a few of the bigger tracks this season. Is one of the things I said week 1 was, one of the things with Racers Elite. A lot of times they have a good 3-4 races that are the short tracks, and this season really doesn't have that. I think New Hampshire is about the only one that you would consider to be a short track on the schedule. So really kind of a different schedule is going to benefit a lot of different drivers this season, and we've seen that so far in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, the first 2 weeks has had a little bit of drama. We're not going to overstate the drama, but Russ, as broadcasters, we got to like just a bit of drama, and we do have some of that. It looks like Blair Holloman, he's going to bring a car out tonight. He's already out there in chat saying, I have no idea what I'm doing with this car. Blair, it's really easy, man. With all of that skill that you have, independent rear suspension, just drive this thing all the way through those turns, hang it on that right rear, man, and you're going to be just fine. Troy Thomas saying that makes 2 of us. So Troy, I don't believe either one of those drivers. We know the skill that they have, and they're going to be out here contending for this win.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, in my experience, it's just go fast, turn left, brothers. I mean, it's no harder than go fast, turn left, right?
That's right. So as we look at this, you can see James McCrae is still holding on to a very slight lead over Truth Hope. And then we've got Andrew Teft, Christopher Pindell, and then we got Alex Gates. But wherever they qualify doesn't necessarily mean that's where they're going to finish, Russ. And every single week, you and I, we look down this list. We look at the qualifying. We look at the racers. We talk about the past 2 weeks. We've done the schedule. We talk about the points. But we always pick a winner. And I normally let you go. I'm going to go first tonight because I think I'm going to steal your pick.
You think so?
I think I am. And
I think I know my pick, so we'll see.
We'll see what happens. I'll tell you, the 98 machine has been on a tear lately. He won last night in that Xfinity series. He's won, I think, in every single series, so he is going to be in the playoffs no matter what. He's going to take a little bit of a break, but you always got to look out for him. Truth, always good on tracks like this. James McCrae, we picked him last week. I'm going to go against all of those. I am going after this driver there in the 4th position, Christopher Pindell. We talked about him before the broadcast started. And I just feel like Pendle's got one coming to him. He runs so well, so strong. I think he's getting the hang of this next-gen car. Russ, that's my pick for tonight.
Yeah, not a bad pick at all. Like it's, like we were talking about earlier. I've been really impressed with the way that Chris has been running so far this year. He's definitely put himself in contention. But I mean, going back to the history of this style of a track, man, my pick is starting P2 tonight. I'm going with Truth Oak, buddy.
Ooh, that is a great pick. I guess I did not go out there on a limb for my pick. I thought I was going to steal yours, but that is a great one. Let's talk about your qualifying results tonight. As you can see, James McCray is your pole sitter. Great to have James back. We have always had some good people out there in the YouTube chat cheering on James. Hopefully we'll have that there tonight. Truth Hoke is going to be second on the grid. Andrew Teft in third. Pendle is going to be in fourth. Alex Gate in fifth. Blair Holloman, we talked about him a little bit earlier, starting there in sixth. Troy Thomas in seventh. Zimmerman is going to be in eighth. Gary Bowman in ninth, and then Wayne Scott in 10th.
Yeah, then Brandon Sanfilippo is going to run off in P11. Ira Kohlhaas, again, really good to see him back racing again. He's going to start in P12. Dennis Kane is going to start 13th. Curtis Decker in 14th. Ed Jurgen, he wasn't here last week. He's here again this week. He's going to roll off in P15. Haas Beverly starting in 16th. And Alan Bergen is going to round out the later qualifying time. And then we're going to have Rob Yost, Jesse Fox, Aaron Marquis, Paul Shaw, Mike Fudge, Hayden Malcolm, and Trevor out there to round out the field of this 24-driver field, buddy.
Yeah, and you can see we've got about from about 17th on not posting a time. But again, this track, such a draft-dependent track. Wouldn't really concern myself with that because I do believe that you're going to have those drivers out there grid up. You can see all of those drivers. We're going to have some pretty cool views for you. We're going to go to the in-car. Let's see if we can get James. We're going to be right here, see what James is looking at. And it does look like we're going to have some cloud cover. So, Russ, there's going to be some grip tonight. I know you talked to some drivers earlier on. What can we look out for when we're talking about fuel mileage, what we think they're going to get, and how these things are going to handle from a tire wear standpoint?
Yeah, I was talking to you guys before the race. It looks like if they can save a little bit of fuel on each run, they're going to be able to make it to 25, right around 25 laps. So we're looking at potentially 2 stops at laps 25 and 50 if we go caution free and they were able to save the fuel that's needed to make it that far. But other than that, I mean, these guys feel like there's like a ton of grip out there. Nobody's really feeling loose and in my words, slidey. A lot of times you get to these bigger tracks and the sun's out beating on it, gets it really slick and hot. These guys feel really grounded to the track, and yeah, they're ready to let it rip here, Tater Chip.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really good one. Again, I think it's going to be a mixed bag. You can either have some drama because these cars are going to get tight and they're going to start pushing off of the turns. And what you don't want to do is lose momentum. So one of those things that we're going to be looking out for is some of those drivers on the bottom of the track getting tight, pushing out, maybe putting some people in the fence, maybe some cautions early, Russ. But if they start to spread out, this race could go green to checker in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this big 2.5 mile track. I mean, these guys get spread out. We talked about it earlier. This track is notorious for being really difficult to pass on. You really got to take your shots right at the beginning of every run. So, I mean, if this thing were to go green to checkered, once these guys get spread out and with their pit stops, I mean, we may not see very many passes this whole race. So, if you're going to go, you got to go early.
Yeah, that is true. We've got Great Lakes Sim Racing out there in the chat saying, let's go 94. He is my pick for tonight. So we will see what happens. As you can see now, that Pace truck starting to pull down. He is going to take a quick turn there to the left. That is going to leave James McCray in charge here. We're going to go 75 laps here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Round 3 of your Racers Elite Next Gen Series here on Thursday night. And here we go. Truth Hope getting a fantastic push there on the outside by Pendle.
Run there, coming out of turn 2, looking into 3.
Man, McRae with a fantastic job. He's going to get a great exit there out of 2. Andrew Teff down at the bottom. He's trying to make that pass there on Pindell. Pindell is going to be able to have a good line. He does have some draft help behind him that's going to push him. He's going to hang tough here on that right-hand side. He is on the house side. That run is going to be very strong, but Andrew wants that position early on in this race.
Yeah, like I said, just a little bit ago, you got to get those spots when you can get them at the beginning of these runs, because we start spreading out, and those passes are going to be a pretty penny moving forward.
And this is where you're going to see those. You're going to see them be able to fan out 3, 4 wide going down that front stretch. Now Pindell is going to get that third position. He is going to wrestle that away. Now Blair Holloman looking all over the back end of Andrew Teff now in that 32 machine. A new addition for tonight as McRae and Hoke sneaking away now about 7/10 up here from Pindell.
Yeah, Pindell had a great run there on the outside, able to get in front of Andrew, and now he's starting to try to work his way towards Truth Hoke there. Looks like the top 2 have been able to spread themselves out just a little bit from the rest of this field.
Yeah, we talked about some people that are coming back with us. Brandon Zimmerman, he is there in that 65 machine. Really good to see him back. And then we've got a battle right here. Sanfilippo is going to slide right in front of Kirby, and he is going to pick up that 10th spot. As now you look, everybody single file using that draft to their advantage here before they're going into 1.
Yeah, talking about that fuel run, they're saying, they're going to be pushing it to make the 25 laps. Well, right here is where you can save just a little bit of fuel by tucking in and getting a little bit of that draft to help save a little bit of fuel to get you to that 25 lap marker.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, just watching, it looks like Teft a little tight through those turns. Holloman really sticking that bottom. You can see him poke that left front fender out. You really want some clean air on that headlight. If you can get that on the headlight of that car, it's going to turn a whole lot better. If not, you are going to be in that dirty air, and that push is going to become really massive, and he is able to hold that car down to that white line, Russ. That is going to mean when these tires start to come in play, my goodness, that 32 car is going to be moving.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the kind of yard here is, the entry to the corners, the more tire wear you get, you start getting tighter as you push up. That outside wall comes really quick out that little short chute between 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of gap here between Paul Shaw and all of those drivers behind him, and then that what I would call that front group, and that gap is about 3 seconds. So somehow this group of cars has fallen off of that lead pack, and I can tell you, this might not be a super speedway, Russ, but man, you fall off of that draft, it's just very difficult to gain that time back, especially if you're somebody like Paul. Paul's right out in that air. He's getting the full force of that air, and man, that is going to burn the fuel in that car.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it works just like a super speedway does in that kind of an aspect. You get all that air to kind of push you back, and you lose that draft. Yep, it's going to take you quite a ways to get back. But I was just watching the standings there, and it looked like Truth was making a battle for the lead, got a little bit loose on the bottom side, and fell back to third as Chris Patel worked his way up there to second. Now running down James McRae for the lead.
Yeah, he really did. And now it looks like Holloman getting around Teft. Now he's going to go down to the bottom. He is going to get by Truth. Truth's going to stay up high. Truth, one of those drivers that's always there at the end, Russ, because he doesn't seem to put a lot of pressure on the drivers if they're faster than he is earlier on in those runs. Now you can see that Alex Gates in that 77, he's going to get that right quarter onto the wall on the exit of 4, but he's always one of those drivers that hangs back and just lets the tires come to him.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the things we had talked about, like from last season, was Truth kind of was one of those tire burners. He'd get after it really hard at the beginning of a run, but then, 10, 15 laps in, he start falling back and he's burning the tires up. And that's one thing I've noticed with him so far this season, and it seems he's gotten a lot better at tire management, as we see Chris Mendel trying to make a move for a lead going into turn 3 here.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to get that done really intelligently. Slides back into the draft and is going to use that draft from the 27. If it were me and I was Pindell, I believe I'd be all over the back end of the 27 trying to push him and hook up with him and see if we can space out and get past and away from that 32 machine and the rest of these drivers. I don't think he wants to do that. It looks like that 94 wants this lead.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking to get up there and kind of get himself a lap led, but yeah, he's like you said, best case scenario, try to get there, stay in that draft of that 27, and try to maybe stretch this lead out, get away from Blair Holloman, who is starting to make a charge in towards him.
Yeah, you said that window about 25 laps is going to open up. McRae probably going to be a bit shorter than that if he continues to lead this race, because he's going to be burning more fuel than certainly that 94 machine that is right in his dirty air. He's able to save some fuel. It does look like Blair Holloman is all the way up here to the third position. Now, Andrew Teps is going to be fourth. Gates is going to be fifth. Hogue all the way back. We talked about him just a little bit earlier, Russ. He's fallen all the way back here to the 8th position.
Yeah, maybe he's just starting to get a little too tight for comfort or something. But yeah, I mean, Truth has been falling like a little bit of a sack of bricks here. Not quite sure what's going on with him right now.
Yeah, let's spend a little bit of time on Truth in this 55 car, because I got to tell you, the progression with him, ever since we've been part of Racers Elite and we've seen him, one of those drivers, it seemed like it took him forever to get his first win or to string together some wins. And he was able to do that about 2 seasons ago, and has really been one of the dominant drivers in almost every one of the series here, showing speed every single track that he goes to. One of the drivers you always have to pay attention to. Now out here leading the points in this next gen series. I mean, the next step here for Truth is really capturing one of these championships.
Yeah, for sure. Saw, 2 years ago, he got those wins and really kind of got that monkey off of his shoulder, and he kind of put himself in that position of comfortability where he felt confident and comfortable going out and fighting for these wins, and then he kept getting them in the trucks, the Xfinity series, and now we're seeing him do it here in the next gen. I gotta tell you, I mean, Truth definitely coming into his own here in the last year or two.
Yeah, he really is, and we're going to highlight this driver here too, and Gary Bowman. Gary, come to us last year, ran that Thursday series, and he is back Thursday nights again in this next gen. He is one of those guys that I got to tell you, he's another driver. He doesn't ever go out there and seem to make a lot of mistakes, lets faster drivers go, and then comes back to him later. And you always see this driver. It almost looks like, Russ, he's mid-pack, mid-backpack, and then all of a sudden, by the end of these green flag runs, he's up front somehow. And through the course of these races, I think one of the things that Gary really appreciates here about Racers Elite is right now we're 10 laps in. We don't have a sniff of a caution, and that really plays into his driving strengths.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with Gary is he just kind of goes out and he runs his own race. And then as the race progresses, he just kind of lets everything come to him. He doesn't really overdrive a lot, and he really doesn't underdrive a lot. He just kind of runs at his own pace, and then later on in the race, we kind of start seeing him kind of, you'll start seeing him move up just a little bit here and a little bit there. And he just kind of works his way up methodically and quietly.
Yeah, he really does. Another driver that does that is Kirby, and Kirby Wainscott. We've talked about him quite a bit. He runs almost every series with us. I believe he runs the trucks. I know he runs Wednesdays. I believe he runs the trucks with us too, and that Super Speedway series that we have coming up tomorrow night here on Racers Elite Network. But he does a fantastic job as well. He's another driver, likes to keep all the fenders on that car, really races inside of himself, and I have seen him, especially on some short tracks, put in some fantastic performances, and not only the next gen, Russ, but almost every vehicle that we race here at Racers Elite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I raced with him back there last season in the truck series, and I know there were quite a few times where he put himself in contention for wins. I mean, it's just, certain tracks or certain drivers have certain tracks that really suit them better than others. And when you get to one of those tracks like Kirby's, he's kind of like one of those drivers that you don't really expect, and then boom, there he is, fighting for a win or fighting for a podium. And, he's just another one of those quiet ones that just kind of sneaks up on you when you least expect it.
Yeah, we're going to go here and look now. We have a battle for the lead, as it looks like Pendel has gotten the momentum, and James is going to run him all the way down to the bottom side. He's going to hang on the outside. keep fighting for that position, as now Holloman getting closer and closer to these two, as they're going to be side by side now going into the next turn. I believe James is going to have to give that position up. So Pendel, my pick for tonight, Russ, taking that lead over here. Now Truth Hoke waving down to the bottom. Sanfilippo's down to the bottom. Looks like we have a driver maybe with a little bit of issues, and we are 3 wide here back behind these drivers.
What happened there? But yeah, we saw them fan out 3 wide back there. But man, yeah, Chris is on kind of a tear right now. Just flat out outran James McRae, like you said. James tried to hold him down to the bottom of the track as best he could, try to negate that run. But Chris just had so much speed through the center of that corner there. Just nothing that he could do except fall in line. And that's probably the best move for him, because other than that, if them guys would have stayed side by side, you would have seen that 32 right up there battling with him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's continue to go through the field here. And now Dennis Kane, we're going to talk about Dennis just a little bit here in this Ford machine. Was not with us last season. Was with us in all of the seasons prior to that. And I'll tell you, one of the things that you can tell about Dennis now, it looks like Troy Thomas continuing to fall back here, Russ, as we see Gary Bowman now starting to go underneath of that 3 machine. But Dennis, really great to have him back, Russ. One of the stalwarts here at Racers Elite. Good to have him. Really fast driver, especially on tracks that Dennis knows. You can tell the tracks that he's comfortable with because he's always up front and he has given people fits. Looks like tonight just staying in the draft, trying to stay comfortable, but really great to have that driver back.
Yeah, I really didn't know much about Dennis Kane before this season. Only our second season calling these races, but I've kind of been impressed with some of the races I've seen out of him. It was I think it was the first race of the season. We saw him up in the front battling for the lead, and then something would happen and he'd fall to the back, and then quite a few laps later we see him right back up there, work himself back up to the front, battling for that lead again. So definitely somebody with a lot of speed. Like you said, it's very at specific tracks, but very very interested to see where Dennis goes as the season progresses.
Yeah, and I think a little tidbit, I believe Dennis in the winter, I'm not sure where Dennis is from, but let me see if I can find out. I believe Dennis in the winter runs a snowplow. Yeah, there he is in Detroit, Michigan. So I believe he runs
definitely plowing.
Yeah, I believe he runs a snowplow in the winter. So pretty interesting there from Dennis. Now, let's talk about Curtis Eckert. Curtis picking up some wins, doing really good in these races. I will tell you, there's never, I don't believe I've ever heard or seen or talked to a guy that wants to run, that wants to win more races than this driver here in this 8 machine. He has his tracks, I think, that he is really quick at. One of the things I like about Curtis is he will always play some games with you. He'll go 2 tires. He'll shortchange some fuel strategy. He's always thinking about ways to put himself up front, and he has done that, and it has given him some success here at Racers Elite.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about him quite a bit, before, and I'd have to say probably one of the more improved drivers that I've seen coming out of last year. Like you said, he picked up a win or 2 there last season in either the trucks or the Xfinity, but another driver that he tries to keep his nose clean as much as he can, and he just tries to be there at the end. But like you said, he tries those little strategies to give himself a little bit of an advantage where he thinks he can try, and he's not afraid of doing it. If he tries and fails, he's okay with it. At least he knows it doesn't work. But yeah, another great driver here.
Yeah. So another driver going to spotlight, and then we'll get back up here to the front because it looks like Pendle's starting to walk away from this thing now. A second and a half up on James McRae, and it looks like Blair Holloman is starting to pull back in close to McRae as well. But this 92 machine of Ed Jurgen, he wasn't here last week. Was on the pole the week prior. Really fast driver. Again, his specialty, I feel like, Russ, is 1.5-mile tracks. He brings a lot of pace, and he is a good tire saver. So he's got some pace, and he's a good tire saver as well. Tough driver to pass. Not without the drama. Had some drama the last time that he ran with us, but you're going to have that anytime you're running up front. You're a consistent top 5 driver. you're going to have those moments because you're arguing over inches of track, not feet and not seconds. So you're going to have those. Ed, not without those, but man, he is a really good addition to this Thursday league. Certainly glad to have him back. Look forward to him really putting on shows here at these 1.5 mile tracks.
And at the beginning of the season, Ed was my pick to win the championship. And I mean, yeah, he wasn't here last week, but that doesn't completely eliminate him from the championship aspect. This season goes on, I'm sure we'll see him up front and probably snag a win or two and lock himself into the playoffs. But definitely good to see Ed back. I know I don't think he was here last season, but good to see him back on the track, and hopefully he makes me look good at the end of the season.
Well, I will tell you, another driver making me look good right now is Christopher Pindell. He has found something, and he is pulling away. He has now broken that draft 1.5, 1.6 seconds ahead of James McRae. And you can just see, let's just go on board, Russ. You can see the calmness that he has in that steering wheel. He's really turning good laps, really off of the throttle like he should. You can see that orange stripe on that wheel. You don't want to see that bouncing around a lot. It just looks like, Russ, he is in complete control of this car right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, that orange stripe, you don't want to see that bouncing back and forth. It looks like he's got really good control over his steering from corner entry, rolling the corners just like he should. He's definitely got himself into a groove right now, currently up 1.6 seconds.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to start extending that a little bit. Now, last lap, you can hear him just a little bit of a bobble, 52.16 to a 52.17 on McRae. So McRae really mirroring that time, but it does look like maybe James has bobbled a bit on that turn, that last turn, because he lost about a tenth and a half here to Pindell. So this driver, another addition this season here in the Next Gen Series. One of those drivers that is consistently fast, Russ, everywhere he goes. Again, another driver that might get into a little tussle here or there from time to time. But listen, if you're not really pushing the car that hard, you're not without drama, right? Those drivers that are up front pushing these things to win, you get a little ego sometimes, you get a little overzealous sometimes, and things happen. So all of these drivers are not without some of that, but that's what makes it spicy and fun.
Yeah, I'm not fast enough to know how that feels, but yeah, I definitely get what you're saying with these guys. I mean, we see it time and time again. You're fighting for inches, and sometimes the heat boils over and things happen. But at the end of the day, you just got to look forward to that next race and go out there and try to get it back the following week. But great battle here. Looks like Blair Halleman got around James for P2.
Yeah, Blair, that driver that said, quote unquote, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going in this car. Now up to second position, as now it seems like we might start getting into that window here in the next few laps. Alex Gates all over the back end now of Andrew Teft. You can see Andrew Teft is starting to pull into sight of James McRae. James there in that third position, starting to fall back, had a really good run early on with those fresh tires, now working his way back to some of these drivers. And now, just like any other race at Racers Elite, when you're starting to think about this, you have to practice pit road entry, because if you don't, Rush, you're going to get caught out. And this track is especially difficult as you're going to have to come off of that turn 3 or going into turn 3, and you're going to have to take that service road.
And it's going to be really tricky and interesting to see how these guys are able to handle it. I mean, we're probably closing in on about 2 to maybe 3 laps before we start seeing guys duck down pit road, and yeah, we're gonna have to see what it makes of it. But
yeah.
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens now. You can see that white line, and we'll watch this as we come back through turn 4, the exit of turn 4. You'll see that white line swing out, and you'll see that yellow cone. So these drivers are going to have to get this car. They're going to have to peel off of turn 4, and they're going to have to slow that car down. As now Andrew Teft taking a look underneath of McRae. McRae's going to block that run. Andrew's going to have to check up just a little bit, and that's going to give him some room. But now Alex Gates is going to come in. Now we have a 3-way battle here for third.
Yeah, that really, really smart by Andrew, just lifting out of it there. James got to put that block on him, but it allowed Alex Gates to get right there to his bumper. Now we see Andrew Teff ducking down to the inside, going down the front straightaway on the inside of James McRae for P3 here.
It looks like Gates might try to follow him. McRae is going to slot himself right in between Teft and Gates. It just looks like maybe McRae's right front gone on this next-gen car as Alex now, and then here comes Truth Hoke. We talked about him a little bit earlier, slid all the way back to 8th. But I got to tell you, Russ, he's going to have to find some speed early on in these tires because he can't be 2/10 a lap faster than the driver that's 3 seconds ahead of you when you got to come in and pit in the next lap or two.
Yeah, I mean, when I was talking to these guys before the race, they were saying for about the first 5 laps, the tire wear, is pretty good. But after that, you start wearing about 1% every lap. So figure over the course of 25 laps, you're going to be down into the 70s, as far as tire percentage-wise goes. So you're going to be a little bit faster than those guys. You're going to have to go a little earlier.
All right, so down pit road right now, Alex Gates, Brandon Sanfilippo, and Brandon Zimmerman, all 3 of those drivers are going to come in just a bit earlier as it looks like they're going to cross that line 25 laps in, which is about that window that you talked about. But one of those things you're going to want to look for, and you're going to want to stretch these things as long as you possibly can because you want to come in at that last minute. Now, this driver here with about 2.7, 2.8 second lead, and he is now going to come down pit road. Nice turn off of 4. As you can see him getting just a little loose, but he is going to get that done. Andrew Teft is going to follow, and it looks like Blair Holloman and maybe James McRae have been able to stretch this thing one more lap.
Yeah. The one thing that I was telling these guys too, when we were talking earlier before the race, I said, is you also got to think about, I know it's probably a long shot considering now we're 26 laps in, hasn't been a shed of a yellow flag, but you always got to take into account the green-white-checkered potential at the end of these races. So if they're only getting 25 laps to a fuel run, it's going to be 25 and 50 and then 25 laps to 75. But if we happen to get a caution at the very end of this and have to go, 1 or 2 overtimes, what's that going to do to your fuel strategy?
Yeah, it looks like Pindell, really nice pit stop. He is on and off of pit road. McRae now down pit road, and it does look like Holloman is down pit road as well. So these 2 drivers, they stayed out 1 additional lap. They're going to make it back around. They're going to come to 27 laps in. So I think, Russ, they're going to be in a really good position. Now, that's odd for McRae to go out and lead all of those laps, Russ, and to be able to save an additional lap of fuel. But it does look like now Pindell's going to take this lead back over, and it may be that 98 machine, just based on where McRae and Holloman come out, could wind up here in second position.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see James and Blair be able to stay out that 1 extra lap. And, it may benefit them at the end, especially if we have one attempt at a green-white checker. If they were able to save that extra lap, depending on how much they would have had left after that, would determine whether or not they could make it a green-white checker without having to come back down and sacrifice that track position. But we'll have to see how it plays out as we wind this thing down.
Yeah, so here we go now. You can see Andrew Teft is already out there on the track. I think Andrew's going to be able to make it. He might not. No, it looks like Holloman is going to be able to slot back in front of Teft. But McRae with a really difficult pit stop there, Russ. He is going to be slotted behind Truth in 5th position. However, Christopher Pindell with a fantastic on and off road, now with a 3-second lead on these drivers. Now, Blair's going to have a lap fresher tires, but I just don't know if that's going to make a difference because it looked like to me Pindell was almost on another planet there by the end of that green flag run.
Yeah, one lap fresher on tires. I don't know how quickly he's going to be able to do anything. It may come on the later back end of a run, but for Christopher to be able to almost double the size of the lead that he had on pit road just goes to show you how good of a pit stop that he had.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Now, it looks like Sanfilippo is all over the back end of Troy Thomas. Troy doing everything he can there in that bright green machine to break that draft. Gary Bowman right behind him underneath of Kirby, it looks like. Let me see if we can go back and take a look. No, he's underneath the 22 machine of Beverly. Beverly's a lap down. So Bowman, we talked about him a bit earlier. Now all of a sudden, Russ, just like we talked about, he's up to 9th.
Yeah, like I said, he just kind of runs his own race, and by the end of it, he finds himself working himself back up there through the field. But that's what I've noticed with him throughout this season is just run your own race. Don't really worry about what other guys do, and you'll find yourself there at the end.
Man, he is starting to work the back end of the 12. We're going to go back up here up front. Now, Holloman is catching Christopher Pendel. How much is that Blair Holloman really putting the wood down? Because really at Pendel at 3-second lead, he can kind of save tire. Some of the hardest positions to be in is somebody like this 94, Russ, where you say, do I want to continue to extend this lead at 3 seconds, or do I want to kind of slow it down, allow them to come back to me a little bit while I'm saving tires? And it's really kind of this tug of war where you never want somebody to get in your draft, but you also don't want to get stuck into a rhythm where you're losing 2-3 tenths a lap.
That's one of the hardest things is, being able to really manage your emotions, I guess, if you will. It's, you see yourself up 3 seconds and it's like, okay, how much farther can I get? Versus, okay, do I try to maintain this or do I back it down until, I see I'm like 1.5 seconds and then I try to push it back out again. I mean, it's kind of a testament to the mental capabilities of some of these guys as to, what they're able to do and make that decision quick.
Yeah, fair enough. It is difficult to do that because you want to continue to increase that lead because it will show your dominance, but you also don't want to get out to the front where you make some form of mistake or you burn those tires up and you get caught and you get passed because that is almost worse than trying to save those tires. But now we've got a battle here because it looks like Truth Hope started to work his way back up, from that. He fell back to 8th. Now he is working his way up. McRae right behind him. McRae really having that difficult pit stop. He is slotted all the way back here to 5th now, so he's going to have to work his way through some of these drivers if he's going to have a chance to win. But it does look like maybe that gap has stalled a bit. Holloman was dragging him in, now 2.8 seconds, but it looked like he was catching him a whole lot quicker, now kind of stalled out.
Yeah, I mean, looking back in the Truth and Andrew Teff battle here, I mean, we know Andrew very well to the fact of he's going to save his stuff to the best of his abilities while maintaining some speed. So to see, Truth slowly start to close in on him really doesn't surprise me because I'm sure at the end of this run, if Truth does get back by him, Andrew will make that back up towards the end of this run. But yeah, it kind of looks like that the battle for the lead is kind of stalled out just a little bit. That gap is maintained about 2.7, 2.8 seconds for the last couple laps. So maybe Chris and Blair have kind of evened out a little bit here.
Yeah, though, Russ, if there's anything I know about Blair Holloman, I'm not sure he's saving a ton of tire. That guy is all gas pedal when you talk to him, and he's all gas pedal when he's behind the wheel. So we'll see what happens with Blair. I know he can will a machine, so if these cars start to tend to get loose, I think that is going to be in the best interest of that 32 machine, but we'll see what happens as we go along. Now, we're going to go back to this battle here between Zimmerman and Jurgen. About 4 tenths now is going to separate the 65 and the 92. And this battle is going to be for 12th or 13th. It was one of your closer battles there on the track, as now it looks like the 92 is going to start to slide back as the 65 is going to have to find his way around that lap car of the 22 machine.
Yeah, I've been watching Ed here just a little bit in that. He, I don't know, it doesn't seem like he's very comfortable at this point right now. He's just kind of doing his own thing and kind of just maintaining. But, we're used to seeing Ed really up there and fighting for positions. It just doesn't look like he's all that comfortable at this point in the race. As we're closing in on halfway here, John. You
have those tracks, though, don't you? Like, you have those tracks where, you struggle with comfortability. And there's always that track where you just, for some reason, cannot find the rhythm. And you run the same line as everybody else, but it doesn't feel good in the steering wheel. It doesn't feel good, on the throttle. and there's just something about that particular track. And my goodness, I got a ton. It's pretty much every track for me, Russ. But you know,
I was gonna say the way the way you're talking about it, I mean, it sounds like every track on the service for me.
yeah,
I mean, it's just
right. That's right. But you know, I think that might be that for Ed because man, I've seen him at Vegas be fast. Homestead, he is one of the more dominant drivers. I mean, I could go down the line. Atlanta, he had a fantastic run at Atlanta with a little bit of drama this year, but a great run at Atlanta, super fast car. So this probably is just one of those tracks where it's just not working for him. I kind of put Indy in the same boat as Pocono, you know, on those tracks that are super dependent on draft and super dependent on getting a lot of momentum out of those turns. Is now Hoke all over the back end of the 98, so this McDonald's machine is under fire. Truth trying to find a way around that 98 car.
yeah, he keeps looking, but Andrew, you know, in his own special little way that he does, he's able to defend very, very well, and that's one of the things with Andrew that makes him tough to race against. Is he makes you get it done. He makes you earn it.
Yeah, and you know, anytime you get up there in these top 5 to top 10, you're going to earn every square inch that you're going to get. But I will tell you, let's build a little bit of drama here, Russ. 2.8 seconds about 5 laps ago through all of our conversations, now down to about 2.2, 2.3. So either Pendel is on that tire saving mode, that fuel saving mode, or Blair Holloman is all out. But whatever's happening, we are starting to cut this lead down just a little as we're getting ourselves across halfway and starting to eyeball, what is this going to be, about another 14 laps before we're going to be inside of that next pit window.
I really think the next 5 or 6 laps or so is going to be a real good tell as to what we have happening between first and second. I mean, we've seen that go from about a 2.7, 2.8 second lead down to about a 2.3. Chris could be saving just a little bit of tire and fuel, but you know, like you said, you know, we know Blair. We've seen him run the truck series and have the back end of those trucks out sideways and not afraid to get that thing up on the wheel. So, you know, probably in another 5 or so laps, we'll kind of really know what's a little bit better of the story here as to what's going on with them guys.
Yeah, I'm really liking, Russ, I'm really liking this driver right now. And I just want to show you kind of how in control. So he's going to take that wider entry, get down below the 98 car, get that clean air on that left front tire, and that's what you want to do in this next gen. Keep that clean air there. Now, Andrew doing a great job staying right in front of him. I'm not sure Truth is pushing really hard right now, but I'm really liking this line that the 55 machine has found here with 38 laps in.
It's kind of you know, that helping line, you know, like we were talking about earlier. As these tires wear, the car gets a little bit more tight, especially on corner entry. You know, with the way that this track is set up in that brick format, that outside wall tends to really sneak up on you as you're coming out of the entry to that corner, to that little short chute that I like to call. You know, so being able to keep that nose, that little bit of the nose clean, kind of really helps you stick that bottom and helps the car rotate just a little bit better. And looks like that's what he's trying to get right now out of this car.
Yeah, he's almost on top of the curb, just really hooking that line. Nice job. We've got Blair Holloman. I saw it dip below 2 seconds. He has cut a couple of more tenths off of it. Now, I do think he's going to have to find something, Russ. I don't think you can chip away with 10, 11 laps to go and get close to Chris. You're going to have to find a way to get to him and pass him with 4 to 5 laps in these runs to go if you're going to have a chance to win this race.
Yeah, I mean, especially if this thing stays green, we've seen obviously how good of a first pit stop Chris had on that first one. So if you're not right there with him by the time he's ready to make that second stop, this, you know, current 2 second gap that he's got could very easily turn into a 4 or 5 second gap by the time the second cycle of pit stops is done. And that's going to make it really, really hard for anybody to be able to run him down in the last 25 laps of this race.
Yeah, that is true. As now it does look like Holloman is starting to slow down just a touch because it does look like Teft is being able to find a way to gain some time on Holloman. Now about 3/10 is going to be the gap there. I do think maybe Holloman getting a bit loose and starting to get pushy, get out to those outside retaining wall, as now that gap just all of a sudden within 2 turns is going to be within just a couple of tenths here. So now 3-way battle. This is Holloman, Teft, and then Hogue right behind those drivers, all looking for that second place.
Yeah, that was one of the big tells right there too, of the difference between a guy who's by himself versus 2 guys that are kind of in a draft. I mean, Andrew and Truth have been running kind of nose to tail for the last 5-6 laps, and just able to run Blair down by being kind of like a tandem draft situation, where Blair really doesn't have much of drafting help, so he's kind of out on his own.
Yeah, it looks like he's got himself settled back down. 2.3 now, so I think it ballooned up to about 2.5 seconds. A really big bobble there by Blair. We were not around to see it, but a pretty big bobble by him. He's now got himself back in. He's starting to sneak away from Teft and Hoke again and starting to chew back into that lead by Pindell. But those little mistakes, Russ, when you have somebody out here just controlling this race like Pindell is, those little bobbles are going to cost you, and you just cannot afford a 0.5 tenth. 2 tenths, 3 tenths of a bobble, because if this driver's on his game tonight, which it looks like Pindell in that 94 is, it's just going to compound the issue.
Yeah, not only that, but he sees you bobble just that little bit, and if he sees he's able to gain another 3 or 4 tenths of a second, that's just a little bit more that he could back off and save to maintain that gap and get himself a little bit further into this run.
So we have went broken, unbroken so far tonight. Once that green flag drops, here we are, 42. It's going to be 43 laps when he crosses the start-finish line. Christopher Pindell, being one of your faster cars, followed around James McRae for about 7 to 8 laps, finding his way around. He has not looked back since, having a fantastic pit stop. But we do have a bit of drama brewing, as it does look like Holloman, getting that car settled back down, has started to track down Christopher Pindell. Christopher, we're about probably 7 to 8 laps away from your next round of pit stops that's going to bring these drivers to your checkered flag if this thing goes caution-free. And I got to tell you, Russ, there's a bit of anxiousness brewing here in this 94 camp.
Talked to Chris quite a bit. We know how bad he wants to win, and he knows he's definitely got the shot at it tonight. So, especially coming down, about the next 7 or 8 laps, like you said, coming down for this final pit stop of the race, he is gonna have to execute this pit stop the same way that he did that first one. Because if he gives it up now, I know he's gonna be kicking himself at the end of this thing, knowing I gave up a potential win because I made a mistake on pit road.
Yeah, speaking of mistakes, really, really big mistake there by Truth Hogue, getting into that wall of the exit of 4 that slowed down everybody behind him. Looks like James McRae had to check up, and that gave them quite a bit of gap there to Andrew Teft. Andrew was under fire by Hogue and McRae. Hogue getting into that wall on the exit of 4, checked everybody up behind him. That has now allowed McRae to get by. It looks like Gates is right behind Hogue. He is wanting to get by now. So now Truth really into a bad area for him, where it looks like he is kind of out of rhythm and starting to drop some positions.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. You get yourself into the wall like that, you get yourself out of rhythm. You gotta be able to get yourself back into rhythm pretty quick, or you're gonna get eaten up. And we'll have to see if Truth's able to get his rhythm back and start working his way back up to James. And now we see Alex Gates get into the wall.
Yeah, and you can tell we're about 5, maybe even 6 laps away from finding some pit road, new fresh tires. I think you talked to some drivers earlier, and they were saying they're losing about a percent, maybe 2% per lap on these tires. So you're really starting to see the effects of some of those drivers as they're getting on that throttle a bit early, and they're really pushing that car all the way out to that outside retaining wall and starting to scrub that wall. And man, that just sucks you in, Russ, and absolutely kills your momentum.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I said, that wall kind of comes up really quick on you when you're kind of least expecting it. And yeah, you get back into the throttle a little too soon, and that wall's going to come say hi.
Man, Pindell still just running a fantastic race. 1.7 seconds up. It does look like Holloman was able to cut this lead in about half, little over 3 seconds. Was that lead prior to actually coming out of that stop, and it does look like he's cut it almost in half, but now it looks like Pindell's starting to stretch this thing back out as he's going to pick up a couple of tenths here on Holloman.
Yeah, I'm not sure, like we said, if Pendel was saving just a little bit towards for the end of this run, or if Blair is starting to fall off a little bit. I mean, we've seen him go from about 2.3 seconds. See Truth getting in the wall there, but we've seen Blair go from about 2.3 seconds down to the 1.8. But he's just been able to kind of maintain that. He hasn't been able to gain much more over the last couple of laps. But we're 3 laps away from potential pit stops here, so he's going to make something happen. He needs to make it happen soon before these pit stops happen.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of stalled just a little bit. Now up to 1.8 seconds. Christopher Pindell, your dominant driver so far tonight. We're going to come to, it looks like probably about 2 to 3 laps before we're going to see some pit stops. Now, I do think Pindell was able to stretch it a bit longer. So was Holloman. So maybe these drivers are going to stretch it out even further before they've got to come down pit road and take that next stop. And it's just like you said, Russ. Yeah, listen, maybe there's a green-white-checkered in the future. You never know what's going to happen. So you want to make sure that you've got enough fuel in the bank just in case, because you certainly don't want to lose any track position. You lose track position here on a green-white-checkered, it is absolute death.
Yeah, I've seen it happen more than one occasion. You go caution-free, and just coming down to the wire, get down about 3-4 laps to go. Been caution-free all race, and then all of a sudden the caution comes out and everything changes because you weren't anticipating that caution. So now you got to come down pit road. You got to get just enough fuel to make it to the finish of this race, and you could go from having a dominating day like what Chris is having right now to a sub 15th spot finish.
Yeah, it's just one of those dive just in the heart when you have such a dominant race like he has had. And I will tell you that 94 machine, he's been there several times. He's been in these positions several times, made some small errors, and it's cost him races. And you just want to see him not only go out here and earn one, but there's a difference, Russ, when you get into a pack and maybe you got 5 laps to go and you take right side tires and you get out front and you hold everybody off, then coming out here and just put some pace on people and they just can't run you down. And that's a different kind of feeling for Pindell right now, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I've said many, many times, I don't know that feeling, but I'm sure that I would be, definitely feeling what Chris is feeling right now. I mean, like you said, we've seen it multiple times this season where Chris has been up front in like the top 3, top 5, putting himself in contention, and then a little bit of a miscue, or he gets caught up in something that he didn't mean to get involved in. Something's always happened. He's kind of just one of those drivers that's had that kind of luck. Right now he's having the race of his life, and we're closing in here on 25 to go. So, and we see a caution.
There it is. It looks like that might have been Ed Jurgen there at the 92. Let's go take a look at Ed. What has happened to him? Was he trying to come down pit road?
I have a feeling that's the only reason why this would come out.
And here he comes down pit road. Man, he's going to try to slow that down. He does get it. Oh, he's just going to hook right. Yep. He just got the brakes locked up. And that is going to bring out the caution.
Wow.
That kind of resets it all because we're all going to come down pit road, Russ. We're going to get full fuel. We're going to make it to the end. We are going to get some new tires.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like right on the edge of making it to the end, too. These guys were saying it before this race started that it's stretching it to get to 25 laps on a fuel run, and we've got 25 to go right now. So, it's still going to be that stretch, but it's definitely definitely changed up the whole trajectory of this race.
Yeah, and I'm going to be interested to see what's going to happen because you can see Sanfilippo and you see Alex Gates, the 77 and the 12, in front of these drivers because they're going to get the wave around because they went down pit road. And it was on the same lap that the caution come out, so I don't believe you're going to see anything crazy. I'm just going to be very interested to see where they're going to shake out. As you know, these drivers are going to have to come down. Now, Russ, is there anybody that is going to be crazy enough to say, you know what, let me take rights? If I'm in 8th, do I take right sides only, get some track position, and say, can I hold people off in the draft?
From what I've seen and what I've heard, I don't think so. I think everybody goes 4 tires here. Now, if we run maybe 10 laps and maybe get another caution, then maybe we see somebody try to sneak 2 tires. But I think trying to stretch 2 tires 50 laps around here is definitely going to be tough to be able to hold on to any kind of track position.
Well, here they come. As you can see, there's going to be about 4 drivers. They're going to try to take that wave around. Ed Jurgen being one of those drivers that created the caution. They're going to try to take that wave around, get back on the lead lap as now the entire field coming down to try to get these pit stops done. Everybody looks like they are in nice and neat. Right sides on most of your top 10 already down. Sanfilippo looks like he has spun in the background. Pindell is going to beat everybody out. Man, James McRae with a fantastic pit stop. I believe he is going to come out second.
I think he leapfrogged about 5 or 6 cars on that one there. Great pit stop by James McRae.
Great pit stop. Andrew Teft is going to be a third. Holloman going from second all the way back to 4th. So he's going to get jumped by 2 drivers. Truth Hoke in 5th. Troy Thomas now in 6th. Gary Bowman in 7th. Dennis Kane in 8th. And then Ira and Kirby are going to round out your top 10.
Just stop Chris Pindell being able to get himself back out in the lead. He kind of knew that was going to potentially be the money stop. He, even though it was under caution, he still had to make sure he got into his pit box without sliding through, without making any kind of a mistake, and he got it done, able to come back out, still holding the lead. But James McRae in that 27 had an outstanding pit stop, finding himself restarting in P2.
James was pretty quick on the initial green flag of this race. He's going to be on the outside of Pindell. Pindell, your most dominant driver all the way throughout tonight. No wonder there's going to be a caution. You can see Haas is going to go down. He's going to get some pit work done. It does look like that Zimmerman is going to take that wave around and get that thing done. We're going to see if this truck is going to turn off these lights and we are going to go green. It does look like it's going to be about 23 laps. Zimmerman is going to go by. Lights are going to go out. We are going back green this next lap. Russ, man, this sets it up because all of that space that Pindell had built is now gone.
Man, it definitely puts the pressure on his shoulders he's going to have control of this restart. So the biggest thing for him is giving himself a great launch and being able to clear James before he gets into turn 1 and, try to start trying to gap himself between him and James. If they go in there side by side, it's going to be a battle for the lead.
Yeah, you can see Pindell. He is going to stick that thing in 5th. He's just trying to save some fuel, not doing anything crazy. Because, again, you might have a green-white-checkered. You might want to stick out, so you just never know. So you might as well keep the fuel in the tank if you can. But I think the key here is going to be really 2 things if you're leading. 1, don't be predictable. Don't let that guy on the outside of you pick the time that you're going to go green. 2nd, don't spin the tires, Russ. You spin the tires, you're going to wind up in 10th before you know it.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, if he gets a great jump on James, like you said, don't be predictable. I mean, if you're leading quite a bit and guys know you usually go early in the box, go late in the box. I mean, change it up. Try to make it so unpredictable that, that they're not going to be able to figure it out. But like you said, they got fresh tires on them. Do not spin those tires. I mean, we've seen it before. Guys get those fresh tires, and then just hammer that throttle as soon as the flag comes out, and the car just loops right around.
All right, so here we go. All the talking is over. All the deliberating is over. Will this be our last caution for tonight? We're going to go green. 22 laps to go. Christopher Pindell, your most dominant car so far tonight. He is going to be on the inside. James McRae on the outside, and we are now in that zone, and it looks like Pindell, nice straight launch. A fantastic launch by the 98. Right behind him, Pindell's going to swing up, get a good run, and it does look like Andrew Teff now is going to battle McRae there for the second position.
Got himself well separated from Andrew and James both going into turn one. Now he's going to start trying to stretch this thing out while these guys battle for second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, Blair Holloman underneath of McRae. He's not going to be able to get that done. He's going to slot himself back in. They're going to try to draft down because they want to catch Pindell. They don't want him to get away. 22 laps to go. Andrew Teff now in second. McRae there in third. Blair Holloman in fourth. And then right behind them is Truth Hoke there in fifth.
Let's see Truth finding himself back up there inside the top five from the end of this race. We'll see if he's got anything for these guys. But Chris Pindell currently working out to about a 7/10 of a second lead over Andrew Teff.
Yeah, it looks like we got another driver going down pit road. That is going to be Mike Fudge. He might be calling it a night here. 21 laps to go. Now almost up to 8/10 of a lead as it looks like McRae all over the back end of Andrew Teff. That fight not over yet here for second. And it looks like McRae is going to push up, and that is going to open the door here. Blair Holloman underneath of that 27 car coming down into the entry of turn 3, and I believe he's there, Russ.
Yeah, and that's going to allow Andrew to kind of stretch out just a little bit. You know, get these guys running side by side. They're able to gap it out, but it looks like James is able to get another great run through the center of that corner and not really lose too much time to Andrew.
Yeah, he had a fantastic turn 3. Not only did he do that, a great turn 4, as now it looks like Holloman into the wall. That's going to open the door for Hoke. Hoke in that 55 machine down on the inside line of Holloman. He is going to make that passing clear easily.
Truth Hoke up another spot.
Truth is now going to be in fourth. Troy Thomas all over Blair Holloman in the 32, so big shakeup here. Blair's got to take a breath, get himself settled back down. He knows he's got a hot rod underneath of him. He's just got to get himself in the right position. Now looking underneath the Truth again. Truth's going to give him the room, allow him to make that pass, and he is going to slot right back in. So Truth back to fifth, Holloman back up to fourth. Now he's got to start running down McRae.
Oh, but you got Troy Thomas sitting there in sixth, looking to start running down Truth Hoke.
Oh my gosh, a couple of drivers in the wall in the back. You can see that now. It looks like Troy Thomas working on the back end of the 55. Pindell already out to a second lead. Man, he just has something figured out tonight in that 94 machine as he is just putting it on them here at Indy. It is crazy to see a driver break that draft so early on after a restart.
Yeah, Chris has been able to figure out a way to get it done, and yeah, about a 1.1 second lead now over Andrew Teff. He's just looking to kind of set sail at this point. 19 laps to go. Should be good on fuel if we go green. So put the hammer down and go to it, buddy.
Yeah, Truth decided to stay behind Blair. He had a really good run on the exit, and too. I'm surprised he stayed behind him, but he did. Pushed him all the way down that straightaway. As now you can see these drivers here, McRae and Teff, they are knotted up as it looks like Pindell continuing to stretch this thing out. A tenth and a half a lap. But we saw this before, Russ, where possibly Pindell is this nerves that's driving him 1.3 miles away, or is this, or 1.3 seconds away, or is this pace? So is this a point where he says, hey, I'm out here and this is just my pace, or is he pushing that car a little too hard and he's going to start to come back to these drivers?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of something that only he would really know, but I think you give it another couple of laps and see what the gap looks like there, and we'll kind of have a better idea, because we know Andrew very well, and you know, at this point in the race, he's not really holding back as much as he normally would at the beginning of a run. So right now he's looking to run down Christopher Pindell, and you know, if this gap keeps increasing, then we know that Chris is kind of really trying to drive it hard right now. But we'll see how this goes over the next couple laps. It's up to about a 1.3 second lead right now.
Brandon Zimmerman getting that passed on the, who is that there? Is that the 5 machine? On Jesse Fox in the 69 machine. So he got that passed on. Sanfilippo just a little bit earlier down that straightaway getting that passed on. And now it looks like Jurgen is going to be all over the back end of that 69 machine. 1.3 is your gap up front. Man, he has just been on another planet tonight.
It's we're kind of used to seeing the certain usual suspects, if you will, of Andrew Teft and Truth Hoke, and you're used to seeing them guys being the ones that beat each other every week. So to see Chris come out here and just dominate this race the way that he has so far here tonight, it's really nice to see, kind of having that different driver just really show up and show out.
Yeah, I agree. And he has been there and he has shown speed week in and week out. But again, we talked about it earlier, just those little things has drawn him back to the field, drawn him to the back, maybe some tire wear issues. I know that I talked to Chris personally. I know that he has worked on that pretty hard, is really figuring out this next gen, getting the tire wear right. And, man, he has done that here at Indy. He is going to continue to extend this lead. Now it was 1.4 seconds as they cross that start-finish line, as it looks like Andrew and James still battling it out here. Blair Holloman has started to sneak into this picture, and all of these drivers, this is second, third, and fourth out here on the field.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Andrew Teft, you're kind of hoping for something to happen to try to give you another chance at this. But I mean, we keep talking about the dominance that Chris Padell's been putting on so far. I mean, the gap stayed about the same at about a 1.3, but you're kind of hoping for something to happen to give you a shot at it, because I mean, it looks like right now Andrew's not going to have that easy of a time to try to run down Chris Padell, especially if he's got James McRae breathing down his neck.
Defense and offense, that is the name of the game for that 98 machine. He has got to find a way. Now he's going to gain about 2/10 on Pendell. That last lap of 14 to go, when he is bringing James McRae in tow. It looks like Holloman really pushing that car. As you can see him on the exit there, getting into that wall, getting sideways. He is pushing that car for all it's worth. It looks like he's going to get in the wall again, start to slide back to Truth Hope. But these two drivers, the 98, the 27, they're hooked up and they are pushing.
Yeah, we see that lead drop down now. It's just over 1.1 second, 1.2 seconds. So they're catching Chris just a little bit every lap, but if Chris can just maintain this gap, I think it's going to be hard for anybody to catch him at this point.
The big goal is, does the 27 say to the 98, let's just go and get the leader, then we'll all three fight it out? Or is he going to make that move? The best thing that can happen for Pendell right now is the 98 and the 27 start arguing over second position. I think if the 98 felt like he didn't have to play defense, might be able to run that driver down. But, man, it just looks like Pendell might have a tough lap. But then that next lap, he just really starts to put it on these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Just keeps running his pace, and like you said, if he has a rough lap, he's able to get it back that next lap. We just saw the lead go down to about almost to 1 second. Now he's back up to 1.2, almost to 1.3 certain times. So it's just I think it's a lot of him just kind of maintaining at this point, because he knows if he can maintain that gap, there's no way that they're going to be able to catch him.
Yeah, Ira and Curtis there going at it. Looks like Ira touching the wall, and that is going to put quite a bit of separation between him and Curtis. But here you go, 1.2 seconds is your gap here between first and second. Third is James McRae. Holloman looks like he is right there, just waiting for somebody to make a mistake. But, man, it looks like Troy Thomas is starting to sneak into the picture here, looking like he's going to threaten that 55 machine for fifth position.
That's one of the things we've seen out of Troy, towards the end of these races sometimes is, he's another one of those ones that just kind of runs his own pace, and then he tends to be there and cranks it up at the end. And all of a sudden starts making moves and working his way to the front. And we're kind of seeing him do that right now with Truth. He's running him down, looking to squeeze himself up inside the top 5.
Yeah, he's doing really good here, Russ. Looks like Truth has settled himself back down. I look to see if he can run down Blair. Blair was really pushing that car hard. And there you go, right behind them in 7th, trusty Gary Bowman working his way up to that 7th position. Again, he is going to wind up with a fantastic finish, starting way back in that field.
Yeah, just another solid finish for Gary, it looks like. And, a lot of times with these points championships, it's, consistency is key. And, you just keep giving yourself those opportunities for really good points finishes. Come the end of this thing, you can find yourself into the playoffs, and then you go battle for your wins and try to get yourself a point championship.
Oh, it looks like McRae got super tight on the exit of that turn, had a great run going. He had to kind of burp the throttle and get out of it. 1.8 seconds, 1.08 seconds is going to be your lead now. So they are getting dangerously close to sub 1 second.
Yeah, we just saw it there for a slight brief moment, about a 0.98, but looks like Chris has got it back to about a 1.1, almost a 1.2.
Yeah, but you got to think about this, Russ. These are long straightaways. These are long laps. 9 to go is an eternity for these drivers.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, 10 laps to go. That's still 25 miles. I mean, that's the distance from my house to the next town over. So.
Yeah, there is quite a bit now. That is staying sub 1 second now as these drivers are chipping away now at 9/10, now below 9/10 to sub 8/10, maybe even below 8/10. So Pindell getting super tight has allowed these drivers to come back in. We are on board with McRae as him and Andrew Teft are trying to run down your leader, and they are doing so right now. What is going to happen here on the exit of this turn now with 8 laps to go? They are catching that leader.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's just see where that gap is when they come across the line. It was about 8.5 tenths. Let's see what the gap is here when they come around and see how much ground Andrew's actually making up per lap, and then we can kind of get a better idea. But, I mean, we've got 8 laps to go, and if he's making up a tenth a lap, and, he's right around that 7 or 8 tenths of a second, we could have ourselves a battle for the win here coming to the checkered flag. But anything less than that, I don't know if he's got a chance.
Man, they are coming, Russ. I don't know.
6/10.
It's touching 6/10. It goes back up because he's exiting a turn and they're entering a turn. But man, that lead is coming down right now, and it does look like Troy Thomas able to get that pass done there on Truth Hoke. That is going to put Troy up to the 5th position. Hoke is now going to slide back to 6th. It does look like Holloman is securely in 4th, but your battle is going to be here. 7 laps to go now. About 7/10 of a gap between your leader and the 98. The 27 is right in tow. I am sure McRae is sitting right back trying to push Andrew, not doing anything crazy because they want to get to that leader.
Yeah, I mean, that last lap, it was about a 1.5 to almost 2/10 of a second gain by Andrew Teft. So you figure that over the course of 7 more laps, and that's going to put them right in the thick of a battle for the win here. So see if that's able to keep playing out, or if James is just going to say, yeah, I'm going to go for this myself.
Yeah, we'll see what happens now. If they can sneak in just a little bit closer here to Pindell, they're going to start. That gap is going to not only go from 2/10 a lap faster, but once they really get firmly in that draft, they're going to gain a ton of time on Pindell, and that's what Pindell wants to do, is stay away from that draft. But I don't think he's going to be able to do it, as now they're sub 6/10 of a second. So now they're coming out. You can see Pindell getting extremely tight on the exit of that turn. That is going to slow him down. Russ, they are coming now firmly in that draft of that 94 machine. We are going to have a battle very, very soon with about 5 laps to go for the lead.
Like you said, the one thing he doesn't want is for Andrew Teft to be able to catch his draft. And I think right now, I mean, they're down to about a half a second. I think he needs to start trying to figure out how to break. See him getting the wall coming out of turn 4.
Man, that is going to slow him down even more as he's going to come across this line about 4/10 of a second, 4.5 of a second in front of these drivers. But now the race is on. They are firmly into his draft. Pendel in that 94, he is going to have to do something and turn that thing up. This 98 machine, this 27 machine, they are coming in a hurry. Now sub 4/10, almost 3/10 by the time they get to this next turn.
Yeah, Chris is going to have to start figuring out a way to break this draft out of these straightaways. Start running that serpentine pattern, going down the straightaways, try to break this draft because, I mean, you know, Andrew sticks with them, and them guys are going to be there in a matter of another lap or so.
As you can see them come down this straightaway, it's going to be 4 to go. Pendel is going to start doing, just like you said, trying to break that draft. What he doesn't want to do is slow himself down, and I feel like, Russ, that's what he's doing, because when you turn left, turn right, you're scrubbing speed, and those two are hooked up. McRae has not left the bumper of that 98. Now he's going to get tight and have to back out of that thing. So now this might be a two-way battle here, 4 laps to go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if Andrew's going to be able to hold on to this draft of Chris without having James right there. But, you know, it's like you said, you know, if he's going to start running that serpentine, he needs to run the serpentine pattern more longer. He needs to not make him such sharp turns because, like you said, it's going to scrub that speed off. If he can do it slowly and methodically where he's not losing the speed, that's only going to help break that draft. But it's down to still about a 4/10 of a second lead with coming to 3 laps to go. So let's see what's going to happen here.
3 laps to go. The 98 all over him. He has won in every single one of these series so far this year. He is wanting to go. This will be back-to-back for him in the next gen if he can get this thing done. Pendel, such a dominant car all race long. Now stretching that out a bit. Now without the help of McRae, it does seem like Pendel is able to get through these turns a bit better, but now, again, it just seems like when he snakes around those straightaways, it's scrubbing speed and allowing that 98 to get closer.
I mean, the gap is maintaining right around that 4/10 range, so, I mean, they're coming here 2 to go. It's going to be tough for Andrew to get him without any help, I think, even still, but see how this goes. Coming to 2 to go.
Downside, down to the inside retaining wall, goes Pendel in that 94. He's going to get extremely tight on the exit. That is going to allow Teft even closer. Now sub 3/10 down into the 2/10 are going to separate these two drivers. The 94 down the straightaway. The 94 just feel like he needs to stay in line and just roll on and get what he can do. Now Blair Holloman is going to start putting some pressure on McRae in the background as we are going to come to your white flag here, Russ. 3/10 are going to separate these two drivers.
Yeah, it's going to be close coming to the white flag, but I'm telling you, we know how hard passing is here at Indianapolis, and just not sure if Andrew's going to have enough time as they're coming to the white flag. 1 lap to go.
Man, he is going to be right there. Andrew Teft is all over the back end of that 94 machine of Pendel. Pendel just needs to hit his marks. I think he will be okay, but man, that draft so strong down these straightaways. Now, here we go. This is going to tell you a lot on the exit of 2. What can Pendel do? He is going to spread that out a bit. He's going to get tight on the exit. That is going to allow Andrew to get extremely close. I think if he hits it here, Russ, he's got this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a battle. Andrew's going to kind of shove the nose, but man, this track is so tough to pass. Chris gets a good launch off of that corner there. Coming into turn 4. Gap is extending.
Christopher Pendel, all he needs to do is just keep that thing straight. Nothing Andrew Teft is going to do. He is going to pick up a dominant win here at Indy. Teft in second position. McRae coming home in third. Man, a great run by Blair Holloman behind him. He is going to wind up 4th. Troy Thomas in 5th. Truth Hoke is going to be in 6th. Gary Bowman 7th. Dennis Kane in 8th. Alex Gates in ninth, and Kirby Wainscott is going to round out your top 10. What a great drive by the end of this race by Pendel, by James McCray. What a fantastic race.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, damn well that Chris was feeling the pressure there at the end of it, and be able to maintain his composure and make that last lap count and finally pick up this W. See everybody out there congratulating him right now. I mean, this guy's been hungry for a win. He finally gets it done here at Indianapolis. Great run for Christopher Pendel tonight.
Yeah, fantastic job. Andrew Teft, another fantastic performance, coming in second, and a little bit of fun at the end of that. Truth Hoke and James McCray, little extracurricular action. Great Lakes saying, heck yeah, buddy, Brickyard winner. He is a Brickyard winner. Rapid Bunny saying, that's my boy Chris. Yeah, I will tell you, fantastic job by him. And really, Russ, not all of the time does the fastest driver win these races. And man, he sure did tonight.
Yeah, he just overall had the most dominant car here. I mean, he was, one of the fastest guys in practice. He had a great qualifying run, been fast all night long. Definitely showed his speed. I mean, again, like I said, this is one of them guys that you've seen him have that speed, throughout the end of last season, the beginning of this season. He's put himself in a position for these wins and to finally get it done, man. And in such a dominating fashion. Congratulations to Chris Pendel on this win tonight.
Fantastic job. All right, let's start to interview your top three. And it looks like we have McCray already here. So let's see if we can bring him into the booth. James, this is John and Russ in the booth. You got a copy? James McCray, you got a copy? All right, I think we do have James in the booth, but I don't think he can hear us, or maybe his mic is not working. James, this is John and Russ in the booth. You got a copy? All right, we're gonna bounce him back down to the waiting room. Not sure what is going on with him, but man, he had a great run. Russ, pole position, led a ton of laps, kind of fell back to about fifth or sixth throughout that race, worked his way back up, took that caution, that late caution. What a great pit stop, in and out to get that second spot. Andrew jumped him on that restart, but fell back in the third and had a great run back up there to that 94 machine.
Yeah, for sure. James was another one. He showed a lot of the speed early. I think he led like the opening 7 or 8 laps before Chris got by him, and we saw him fall back just a little bit and work his way back up as the race went on. And yeah, another great run for James here tonight, and definitely going to help him in the points battle.
Yeah, fantastic job by him. Now, we do have your winner, though, is in the waiting booth. So let's see if we can bring him up and see if we can have a conversation with him. So, Chris Pendel, this is John and Russ in the booth. You got a copy?
What's happening, fellers?
Man, I bet you are happy Indianapolis winner. Chris, we are just going to shut up and you walk us through your race.
First off, this is freaking awesome. I felt like a few weeks ago at the Brickyard 400 the money race, I had one of the best, if not the best car, and I screwed up and let that one get away. I wasn't going to let this one get away tonight. Man, this is freaking awesome. I mean, I'm so pumped up. Finally got a chance to, lock myself in the playoffs and Racers Elite and the Cup Series. I've been close a few times getting it. I mean, but I'm just so freaking pumped, man. To lead all the laps, get the fastest lap, and win the race. I'm so freaking excited, man. This is so awesome.
Well, I will tell you, I think Russ and I talked about that throughout the race, where there are times where, there's a late race caution. You're able to hold some people off to pick up a win. Those are great. But, man, one of the ones that really feel nice to you is when you're able to get out, run away from people, manage your tires, be the fastest car, not only from the start of a run, but the middle and the end of a run. You were able to do that. A little bit of noise back in the back end of this race after you went green, but my goodness, man, you put on a show tonight.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I thought Andrew was going to catch me there. I kept overdriving those last few laps. I was overdriving turn 1 and getting tight, and then I had to lift a lot, and he started catching up on me. But for some reason, 3 and 4, I had it down. I was able to run underneath the white line, almost touched the curb, and it helped me turn the car and helped me get good grade off. But, man, this is freaking awesome. I'm glad that caution came out because I might have been a half lap to the good, and then with us downshifting down into fourth in the corners, obviously that's going to burn a little more fuel. So I tried running fifth gear, and it just car was so tight, and it was so slow in fifth gear. I did that in the money race here a few weeks back, and it worked out. But for some reason, it wasn't doing it tonight. So I don't know if it's just set up, track temp, what. But um, yeah, I was so pumped up, man. I was telling Truth and Troy and those guys in the chat, like, man, I'm going to freaking mess this thing up. I think I got in the wall pretty hard, like with 5 to go, and then that kind of shrunk my lead a little bit too. And I had to simmer down and focus. And man, this is awesome. I know it's not actually Brickyard, but Brickyard win for me. That's freaking great. I mean,
Oh,
I
it
love
is.
this track. I love this place. I used to not like this place, and I figured it out, and I just love it. It's so fun to drive here. It's very challenging. I knew that once the car out in the front was going to be after the money race. I knew that the car out front was going to be an advantage because it was so hard to pass here. As you know, you raced that race too. I think if you got behind somebody, it was just so you got so tight and it was so hard to make a pass. So I am ecstatic that I was able to get up there and take the lead and hold on to it, man. This is freaking awesome. Heck yeah. And to
Well,
win for Misfit too.
I was gonna say I only got one thing to say to you too, and that's way to go on making John look good because you were actually his pick to win tonight. So John's got one up on me on the season so far here.
Oh, heck yeah. John, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I
Hey,
really do.
listen, they say broadcasters curse, but maybe it's the broadcaster's luck. But man, you did a hell of a job. Really great to see you take this next gen. I know you and I have talked personally. You've struggled with some of the tire wear in this next gen. I think you got this thing figured out. Fantastic performance, man. Way to go. You get to kiss a few bricks, and we'll turn it over to you, let you give your shout outs.
Yeah, definitely. I got a few bricks outside at the house. Maybe I'll go outside and kiss those, man. but I just want to thank Andrew for racing tonight with let me race. I appreciate it. I know this is like my second or third year with them, Racers Elite. Thank you for letting me join, and I couldn't ask for a greater lead to race in. These guys are awesome. I love my teammates over at Misfits. Thank you guys for being in the chat and coaching me up and pumping me up there at the end, even though they didn't have the greatest of races. Thanks to my buddy TJ Lane, he made me a badass freaking Celsius paint scheme. He, working at Pepsi, I got to rep all my sponsors at Pepsi, and he made me a good scheme, and he helps me out and coaches me up too. And thank you guys for broadcasting. I love coming in and talking to y'all. I know I don't get to do it as much, but after a win, it feels so much better. So thanks for broadcasting, guys. I appreciate it. And thank you to everybody who watches. Thank you to all the league, the guys that races in the league. They're all great people, great, clean racers, and I couldn't ask for better guys to race with. So heck yeah, I'm locked in now. I can just go out and learn and try to rack up some more wins.
Well, fantastic job, man. We love your passion because we certainly are passionate to sit in here in the booth and watch it. We're big fans, so we certainly appreciate fantastic run by you tonight.
Man, thank you guys. I appreciate it. And hopefully I'm talking to you all next week. I think we're at Sonoma, so maybe you won't be, but we'll see.
All right. Thanks, Chris.
Congrats,
see you guys.
brother.
Thank you.
All right. So there is your winner, Russ. What a great, it pumps me up to see people like that pumped up. What a great win by that driver. And man, you might think this is just a game, but my goodness, this gentleman is a happy man. Now, let's see if we can bring your third place. He is still there in the waiting room. Let's see if we can get him on board with us. We're going to try one more time. James, this is John and Russ in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I'm working this time. I'm
All
sorry
right.
about that.
We got you. Hey, man, fantastic job. First of all, great pole. Led a bunch of that race in the beginning. It looked like, kind of worked your way, kind of fell back a little bit, kind of biding your time. Fantastic pit stop coming out. You and Andrew running down Pendel. Looked like you got a little tight on a couple of turns, and that was the end of it for you.
Yeah, that pretty much summed it up. I spent too much time on that final run, too close to Andrew, trying to get up to him to push him, but it was just so hard, and that just used him up right before the end.
Yeah, it looked like, it looks like to me, James, you're really starting to get comfortable with the next gen car. I know that you haven't run with Racers Elite. Coming here, it looks like every race you're starting to get faster and faster and faster. Do you feel like you're really starting to come into your own now?
Usually I don't give myself that much confidence, but maybe. Yeah, I was very surprised by the pole and that speed. Because I thought for sure someone else would have been faster, but uh, this is one of those weird tracks that I like. But yeah, just wasn't all there today.
Well, listen, it is all there enough for you to get a podium tonight. It's going to be another race that's going to put you really securely as we continue through these, because you got to remember only 13 races for the entire season. Before you know it, you're in the playoffs, and you got to do that. So how do you feel? We're going road course racing. How do you feel about Sonoma in these next gens?
Oh, that's a tough one. I haven't really raced Sonoma too much. If it was Watkins Glen, I'd be confident, but yeah, Sonoma's a different beast. Um, I think I was okay the last time I practiced it. Uh, we'll have to see.
Well, I will tell you this, man. You went from the pole to a podium position. That is always a fantastic night. You kept all four fenders on the card tonight. No drama, no excuses. Fantastic run by you, James. We'll turn it over to you. Let you give your shout outs.
Yeah, thank you guys for broadcasting and the Tefs for you know putting together the league, and yeah, my girlfriend and my mom out there watching. Love y'all, and yeah.
Yep, great job, James. We're going to see you next week, and we're going to do a little road course racing. I know you might not have what you think is the confidence that you need, but I got to tell you something, man. I believe in you. I think you're going to have a fantastic run.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Yep.
I'll
Have a
try to
good
take
night.
that with me. You too.
All right, so there is your third place finisher. Now, we do have the owner here of Racers Elite. He is in the waiting room. We're going to bring him up, Russ, and we will let you do the interview. Let's see if we can get a hold of him. Andrew, this is John and Russ in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey man, kind of a up and down kind of night for you, but coming down to the wire, we saw you running Chris down last 5 or 6 laps. We kept watching the gap slowly decrease, 2/10 of the lap. Do you think there was anything you could have done different at the end of this race to be able to get that win here tonight?
Maybe just find a little bit more speed at the start of the runs. I noticed he was kind of starting to push toward the end, kind of clipped the wall a couple times. I was still able to cut the corners pretty good. I was just, kind of trying to keep some air in my nose. Yeah, I think I got down to about a tenth there, and might have needed another lap to get alongside of him, but passing's still tough. So who knows how long that would have taken? But yeah, Chris always races me clean, so I wasn't about to do anything crazy there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you had James right on your bumper there for 10 or 15 laps, it looked like, and you guys were just kind of really running him down. And then once James got a little tight and had to let off of it, it was just kind of down to you to run him down by yourself. But I mean, you ran it from about a 1.3. I think we were watching it at like a 1.3, 1.4 second gap consistently, and then you were able to run it down, like I said, like a 2/10 a lap, and then, a couple laps more and could have found yourself up here in victory lane. But like you said, it's that first time winner, Chris Pendell, always run you clean, show that respect and run him clean. So how are you feeling going into next week? Next week we go to the that road course in California known as Sonoma, and we know that track can be a little bit tricky. What are your thoughts going into next week at that road course?
Well, as far as road courses go, I usually like the ones that don't have super long straights with heavy braking at the end, and Sonoma's not really like that. It's usually one of my better ones. So I'm looking forward to it. Having the extra gear is a little strange. Trying to remember what my shift pattern was the last time we were there. It's been a while, but I think you might only hit fifth in the S's. So have to relearn that, but yeah, I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen you run really well on road courses in the past, and Sonoma is just kind of that one little curveball you throw into every schedule every year. So, but hey, man, great run tonight. Another podium and another great points finish. We'll go ahead and turn it over to you and let you give your shout outs.
Yeah, we get some more road course practice this weekend also on Sunday morning. We've got a full-length Watkins Glen race coming up, so make sure you tune in for that. It'll be over on Maconi Entertainment on their YouTube channel. And I want to thank our servicemen and women, our team, everybody that tunes in to watch, shows up to race. I want to thank everybody who's subscribed to the channel. We've finally had our goal of 500 subscribers, which is awesome. So thank you to everybody for helping us get there, and congrats to Chris. That was an awesome win. Really dominated the whole race there. He always runs really good here. Yeah, and thanks to you guys for helping out in the booth.
All right, man. Well, congrats again on another top podium run here, and definitely solidifying the spot as a returning champion and showing you're stable to go after it again this year. So we'll see you next week in Sonoma, buddy, and maybe talk to you again up there next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
All right, so there is your second place. Listen, it might have been a little mismatch here as we're going first, second, third, first, third, second. We can say whatever we want, but I will tell you this. Christopher Pendell put on a heck of a show. Andrew Tepp bringing home another good solid finish. And sometimes, Rush, you don't have to win them all. You don't have to be the fastest guy on the track. You just need to have good finishes, and that's what that driver's doing. And then great run by James McRae there in third position. So all in all, I would think this is a big win by a lot of drivers tonight here on Thursday nights. Appreciate everybody out there in chat that always cheers on their favorite race car drivers. We can't do it without you, and we certainly need you because then we would just be talking to nobody, Russ.
Yeah, but sometimes I talk to nobody just for the fun of it, so it wouldn't be much different. But yeah, thank you all the viewers for watching each and every week and listening to us just kind of blab on and on and on and on as the race goes on. And hopefully you'll tune in again next week for us here, and we head to wine country in California for Sonoma.
Hey, we're going to turn right, we're going to turn left, and we are going to bring you some spins, some wrecks. I know it's coming here at this road course. Congratulations to your podium finishers. This is John Ross for Russ. We're out. We'll see you next week.
See ya.